Hey, my name is Stix and welcome back to the Rovercast episode 2. Today we're going to be discussing part 2 of the 3.1 patch cycle, specifically pertaining to Luke and everything we learned, all the lore drops, the history, the backstory between Rover, Luke, all the different characters. I was joined today by Agekk, Amanda Rischel, the voice actor behind Cardathia and Fleur de Lis, Comfyrini, Erusha, Sevy, and also Zora. These are all incredibly talented individuals, human beings, content creators, and voice actors. If you like what you see, go ahead, subscribe to each of their respective channels on social media, on YouTube, on Twitch. Additionally, if you like these podcasts, then you're in luck. We're going to be doing them after every single major patch. Part 1 and Part 2, respectively. Now, let's go ahead and jump right in.
Before we begin, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Question, Stix. Is it on purpose? Is only the ladies today?
100%, it's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Well, I wanted to present a podcast from the perspective of Luke lovers, and a lot of Luke lovers just so happen to be female creators. So, you know, give you all a fair chance here.
You're like, it's our time to shine.
Finally, the men enjoyers can rise up.
I mean, hey, I enjoyed Luke as well, but I mean, I feel like I'm in the minority here in terms of demographic. So,
you know, surprisingly, well, actually, maybe not surprisingly, I've seen a lot of male fans of Luke.
Yeah.
Like, just all across the board, and that makes me really happy.
I'm glad to hear that. I am, because there's a narrative going across social media that Luke is the worst performing character in the history of Wuwa. So I would love to prove that wrong.
I mean, they say that about literally every single character that comes out, so.
Yeah, that is
True.
also true.
They're just hating to hate.
Granted. Yep. True.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go ahead and jump in. Beginning with everyone's individual introductions. Age, since you're at the top, you can go ahead and go first. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Put you on the spot like this.
Oh goodness. Hello everyone. Hi, my name is Agekk on all social media. I love Luke.
Yeah!
No,
Let's go.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Well thought out. Very articulate.
Very straight and to the point, I think, you know.
I like it. Amanda?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi guys, my name is Amanda Rischel. I'm a voice actor. I'm probably most known for being the voice actor of Cardathia and Fleur de Lis in Wuthering Waves. But the reason I'm here is actually just because I have been playing the game for the past 8 months. And now allegedly I'm a content creator. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Let's go.
Oh, is that? Oh my God, Age. Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
it's crazy.
I got Bay.
It's like,
I got Bay.
Wow.
it's like
Okay.
Cardathia's speaking in our ears. It's crazy.
Wait. Oh, you know what? You could actually do the movements, and Amanda could do the voiceover.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That.
Endless possibilities.
Wow. Okay. Arrow.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
It's
Go
okay,
ahead.
don't worry. Hello, my name is Erusha. I'm a trilingual VTuber and also voice actor as well. I speak English, Japanese, and Mandarin Chinese, and I stream a lot of gacha games. Wuthering Waves and Punishing Grey Raven are my favorites. You might also know me as the voice actor who voiced Phoebe in that one viral animation where she gets her cheeks squished. Have you guys seen that video? I didn't mention that last time. I didn't mention this last time I was on the podcast, but actually, if you've seen that video, I voiced Phoebe in that video. So, yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Which is actually how I got to know her.
Legendary.
Yeah, that's how I got to know Stix, yeah.
That's so cool.
Okay, Rini.
Everyone, hello. Hi everyone, my name is Comfyrini, but you can call me Rini. I'm mostly a Wuwa lore content creator, but I do dive into other games every now and then. And I love Jinji. I'm not a huge Luke fan, I'm so sorry. I feel like you started saying that and I was like,
Imposter!
What am I doing?
Get out.
No, I love him, but like I don't think I love him as much as some of you guys do. I'm sorry. My allegiance is to Jinchi and Jinchi only.
That's okay. There needs to be someone here.
That's totally
Right.
fine. All
Are-
levels of Luke enjoyers are welcome. Fine.
Just no Luke haters.
Thank you guys. I feel so welcomed.
Okay, Sevy.
By the way, sorry if I'm lagging. It's a little laggy on my end, and my ping is my latency is kind of high. But anyway, hey everyone, I'm Sevy, and I'm the proud owner of a C6 Luke. Sorry, S6 Luke. And
I'm
it's
not
my
jealous,
first
I'm not jealous
S6
at all.
character in Wuwa. That hopefully is a testament to how much I love Luke. But yeah, hi. Nice to be here with you guys again.
Wait, Sevy, how much did it cost?
Oh God.
So I saved the entirety of Lahai Roy, so I had
Damn.
300 plus wishes, but I did not win my 50-50s and I had to drop a couple hundred.
No.
How many is a couple?
Exactly 2.
Oh, I mean that's not that bad.
That's not
Yeah,
terrible.
that's
For
not bad.
an S6, that's actually not that bad. So,
I guess. It was worth it.
Patty.
All right,
Worth it. Do it for him.
Zora.
I'm Zora. Nice to meet you guys. I play Wuwa in Honkai Star Rail. I like Luke too, obviously. I'm a full-time student and also speak 3 languages: Danish, Arabic, and English. And yeah, I'm excited to meet you all.
I feel like
Some
I'm
of you
the
again, and some of you again.
I feel like I'm the least talented person here because I only speak English.
No,
So-
I only speak English too, don't worry.
Oh, thank God.
I feel like such a loser.
No.
Zora, I didn't even know you spoke Danish. I do as well.
You do?
It's so rare that you do. Yep. Det gør jeg.
What? Really? I was shocked.
That's so
Rare
cool.
moment, rare moment.
What? Okay, that's insane.
They
Wow.
can
I
converse
just
in
saw the
Danish
thread
and
connect.
we'd never know.
Wow.
For real though, the talent in this this video call is so high, so unbelievably high right now. And then there's Reedy and me.
Yeah.
No.
I'm sorry.
You guys are talented in your own ways, okay?
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be language.
Yeah, I'm essentially the Nick Fury because I assembled the Avengers here. That's my talent.
You actually are.
Yeah, you assembled all the Luke lovers and Rini. Congratulations.
I have the eye patch too. I have Nick Fury's eye patch, so it works.
Oh goddamn.
We can
Okay,
have a balanced
no,
spread of
Stix.
perspectives.
Yeah.
Stix, you're Nick, and Rini is Fury.
Yeah.
Dude, we need to actually move our webcams together.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're one entity.
I love that.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. We're gonna start off by just talking about 3.1 as a whole now that it's complete. I'll go ahead and go first here, and then we'll just move into, I guess we'll start off with Zora after me, then go backwards. But I think that, honestly, 3.1 I didn't think was gonna get any better. After Imet's story, I thought that the inclusion of Luke's story was kind of, because I mean, it was listed as a kind of like a segue into 3.2. I thought it was going to be more of a filler quest, and Luke was kind of going to, get the short end of the stick. I felt like he was going to kind of have a, 30-40 minute storyline that was kind of going to just exist merely as a means of, presenting a male character to, I don't know, fit that like quota of 1 or 2 male characters per, major patch. Or major set of patches. But it turns out not only was he incredibly imperative to the story overall, but he had, or with his patch specifically, there was so much backstory, so many lore drops, so much history between him and Rover. He had such a core part of, the reveal with the Grand Architect at the end. And it actually, for such a short patch, completely blew me away. And I think that his story should have been like twice or 3 times as long, honestly. But yeah, what do you guys think? Starting with Zora. Oh, before we go in though, I didn't tell chat that I would start the entire podcast off by saying that is everyone here ready for absolute cinema?
That's so cute.
Okay, that's a good one.
Okay.
I almost forgot.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. Zora, starting with you.
Well, I think the story, like Luke's part of the story, it was short, but it was also very complete, I feel like. I don't think it could have been longer, to be honest, because we got everything that we were curious about. We got name drops about the Fraxidence members, overseers, and whatnot. And we also got to know about Luke, obviously his family, and the Grand Architect. I think overall, with all the lore drops, I think it was perfect. I don't think it could have been longer. And for what it was, I think I would give it like a 9 out of 10 because it was short, but for what it was incredible because I kept being on the edge of my seat to get to know more of these things that they were telling us. And I was like it left me more interested than Amid's story. Like, of course, Amid's story was amazing, but it left me with more questions and more like things to look forward to. And we got like some glimpse of what's to come as well with all the new characters. Maybe we're gonna meet them. Maybe all these new places that were name dropped as well. Are we gonna go there? Who knows? It just makes me think a lot about the future as well. And I think for what it was incredible. And I don't think it's fair to compare Amy's story and Luke's story because it's just a segue as well. But I think it really, really did impress me how they made that segue quest. It felt so important to me, or like in general to. I think that story you cannot skip. Like I feel like you cannot skip that quest at all because you get so much more information that's gonna maybe leave you with more questions or maybe answer some things. So yeah.
That was well said. And I do want to point out, though, also that I appreciate that even though Luke's quest was on the shorter side of things, it also found a way to include other characters like Sigrica and Lucille as well.
Yeah.
Which has been kind of a fundamental issue that they've had throughout 1.x and 2.x. So even if they only made, several minutes worth of appearance, it was great seeing them. So.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
Sevy, what'd you think?
I totally agree with what Zora is saying, where it's hard to imagine the Luke quest being longer, and it's because Luke is now one of those characters where his character arc happened already. Like the most interesting part about his character arc or his character history was the whole Fraxidus infiltration, and that happened in the past, and it's not something that they're going to rehash entirely in this current timeline. And sometimes that makes me a bit sad. I think I mentioned in the last podcast that there are some characters whose character trailers pop up and I'm like, wow, I wish their story quest explored the moment of their character trailer or the arc of their character trailer. And that's the case for Mornier, is what I previously mentioned, and now Luke, in my opinion, because so much happens there, but it's something that already happened in the past, and it's not a concern of the present, because what we have in the present are consequences and results of his already finished character development. So it's just, I actually am really pleased with how his segue came out, because it was short, it was very substantial, and he did a lot to facilitate the main arc and move the plot along. But you can tell that he's not a central character like Imus, and they didn't try to make him have an epic plot line because his is already done. it happened some time ago, like decades ago, or however long ago Rover did that or helped him through that. And I think one thing that surprised me is that it was very restrained in terms of fan service. You know, like for better or for worse. I wouldn't have minded more, but I think like for general consumption as well, they showed a lot of restraint with it. But he was still great to look at. So yeah,
His model is just that good.
I know it is. It's immaculate.
You mentioned that there was no
Best-looking
like
character.
best looking character. Oh, hands down,
No,
he
no,
is.
no, male
So-
character. Sorry.
No, that's
Sorry.
what I figured you were gonna say. Yeah. But Sevy, you did mention that there was no like epic part to. I disagree. That 360 headshot that he did was fucking insane.
Okay, it was pretty crazy. Like that entire scene, damn. Like
It takes
brandish
two to
your
play a
scalpel
game.
more. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, damn.
Oh my god.
Okay, Rini, I know you probably have a lot to say about this, right?
Yes, I do. So I think with the segue classes, I think people tend to forget that they're not supposed to be like a full-on main story quest. The way that I see segue quests are they're supposed to be like kind of like a behind-the-scenes moment of what's been happening outside of the main story quest. And I especially loved how lore-packed... Well, actually, at the time, I didn't love it because I was like, oh my god, my brain's gonna explode by how much lore is packed into this quest. I can't deal with it. And while I was streaming it, I was writing notes down in my notepad and also trying to pay attention. So it was a lot to go over, but I loved it at the same time because of how jam-packed it was with lore. And I also love how... Sorry, I'm just thinking of like all the things that I want to say. I loved the fact that like we got to see more of like how truly powerful the Fractsidus are, because with the Fractsidus, I don't know, like I feel like when they were first introduced into the game, especially in like 1.0 time, I never really took them that seriously because I was just like, okay, they're like the bad guys, whatever, I get it. I didn't really start taking them seriously until it got to around Septimont, with the whole Christopher and like the Sonora sphere and everything with Septimont going on. That really shook me to my core because I was like, what do you mean? What's happening? Why can they do this? Why are they so powerful? And then I like how with the introduction of Lahai Roy and 3.0 as a whole, we're getting to see how easily the Fractsidus are able to infiltrate all of these like crazy organizations. They're practically everywhere. And we also got the lore bomb of the fact that New Federation is not only funding the Fractsidus, but also Star Torch Academy. And Star Torch Academy has so many Fractsidus members. Because I was talking about it with my chat, and they were like, but like there's Fractsidus members just walking around the campus. And what I said to that was, it's the fact that Star Torch Academy is not only funded by the Fractsidus, but Star Torch Academy itself, like the whole Star Trek collective, is meant to be a collaboration of all these organizations across Solaris. So I guess in a way, the Fractsidus are kind of given like immunity in Star Torch Academy, and Star Torch Academy just doesn't really care about the, I guess, the political details with the Fractsidus and all the problems that they cause. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the segue quest. I mean, I really enjoyed the 2-1 quest. I know a lot of people had their personal issues with that, but when I first played the 2-1 quest, I kind of understood that it was meant to be a behind-the-scenes kind of moment of like what's been going on behind the story. I mean, with that quest too, we found out that there's a lot of like stuff going on in Mingting, which is where Cantarella used to visit quite frequently. It's revealed that 2-1 says that Mingting isn't the same way that it used to be when Cantarella was there. So yeah, I just really appreciate all the lore details. Even with like the Fractsidus, we got a lot of what do you call it? We got a lot of names for the other overseers, which I thought was so insane. I was like, holy crap, what the hell is going on? We got
Did not know there were that
Christophorus.
many.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is that they could do so much more with the Fraxis. Like that could just be like one group with the Fraxis that we know of, like with the Overseers. We also got Christopher's official codename, which is Arachnos, which I found quite interesting, because the word Arachnos kind of derives from the Greek term Arachne, and Arachne was basically if I'm remembering correctly, in Greek mythology, I'm pretty sure she was like a weaver, like a really talented weaver, and she had like mega beef with Athena, the goddess Athena, and they had like a competition, and Arachne actually made like this tapestry that was basically a massive insult to the gods and like pointing out all of their flaws and stuff. So Athena ended up turning Arachne into a spider and like basically condemned her whole entire family bloodline and stuff like that. So I thought it was really cool that we got Christopher's codename, because weaving stories and stuff like that. I just thought that was so cool.
Wow, I
That you
actually
thought about this.
Yeah, no, for real. I learned more in
Wow.
the last 5 minutes than I did in all of 3.1. Like,
I'm gonna shut up because I will literally yap for like 30 minutes. So I have more, if we go back to like the Fraxter stuff, I have more stuff on like the codenames and what their codenames could potentially mean about their characters and their story. So I'll leave it there for now. I'll stop yapping.
Eru, if you want to go next.
I'm so glad Rini went before me because I feel like I learned so much lore just now, just from listening to
I'm sorry if that was like a huge overload.
No, I was gonna like, yeah, I hope the others can take care of talking about the lore, because I'm not really a lore person. I'm kind of part of the camp that needs to watch other people's analysis on lore to get what's going on. I'm surprised nobody so far has mentioned how Luke's story quest has literally been a whole therapy session. Like, I think people were joking about how, because we're all so sad and traumatized from losing Ameth in the 3.1 main story. They're like, oh, because Luke is a doctor, he's gonna heal us. Maybe we'll even get some fan service. People were predicting what kind of quest it was gonna be.
He can fix us.
He can fix us, exactly, right?
And we fix him too. A mutual
and
fixing.
It did end up being like a therapy session, but it wasn't like I went in expecting some lore, to tie up some loose ends and get some more story points, of course. But I was also thinking, like, are they gonna give us like a date with Luke? Is it gonna be like a date? Like, are we gonna get something a little fun and wholesome to maybe distract us from the pain of losing our daughter? But actually, it was not a date. It was not fan service. It was a genuine, real therapy session. There were so many things that Luke said to Rova throughout this quest that made me feel like I was genuinely like talking to a counselor, like talking to a therapist. I actually wrote down some of the quotes from Luke and Rova's final conversation that like hit me on such a personal level that I actually started crying. I didn't think a under 2-hour Sieg quest was going to make me cry, but I started crying. I started crying because I think it just came at the right time in my life where I actually had a really rough time the past 2 weeks, just something personal in my life. It's been really rough for me. And some of the things that Luke said, like, I've come to believe that no matter how strong a person becomes, not everything can be done perfectly. In life, many things are beyond our control. Meeting people is still a gift, even if I know I might lose them one day. Just like the whole exploration of dealing with grief and loss, I thought that was so beautiful. And it ties in perfectly with, what Rova went through in the 3.1 main quest. He's going through a really hard time right now. He just lost his literal daughter, and he's going through so much grief. And I just thought it was so beautiful that Luke was there for Rova, reminding him that if you let grief and anger burn you out, you become obsessed with the results. You forget the joy you felt along the way. Luke was so quotable in this quest. He said so many things that I was like, I need to write this down and just like read it over when I'm feeling depressed, when I'm dealing with grief and loss. It was genuinely so thought-provoking. And I thought it was so beautiful that, obviously Luke, in his backstory, he went through a very, very traumatic, he went through a very traumatic experience where he had a great loss in his life. And back then, Rova was there to be there for Luke. And to see Luke then, now in the future, essentially do the same thing that Rova did for him in the past, I just thought that was so beautiful and heartwarming. And yeah, it really made me think about how, like, I wanted to be a friend like that to my friends as well. Be there for other people when they're going through a hard time, and hopefully in the future when they're going through something similar, they'll be there for you as well. It was just a really beautiful story, regardless of all the lore drops and the story beats, which again, like I said, I'm gonna leave to the lore people. I just really wanted to touch on the more heartfelt moments in the story, because I think that's what resonated with me the most personally. Yeah.
Which I think is actually...
Can I just quick...
Yeah, go for it.
Just
Yes,
one
yes.
quick thing about what Erusha said, and also like at the beginning of the story, right? Because Luke's entire thing, he gives you candy, right? He's kind of giving candy to people like alongside his advice and stuff. At the beginning of the story, Rover rejects the candy, and then at the end, Rover finally accepts the candy, and then the candy was also pink, which is also like kind of like the color of Imith.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like throughout the entirety of the Segway quest, while Rover is starting to learn more of the truths about and finding a place to also direct their anger as well. Obviously, now that we learned more about directly what happened to cause Imith and all of her situation, so then it's all of it just ties it tied together so nicely, and then it became really emotional at the end, and then get emotional thinking about it again.
Yeah.
I think one of the best parts about Wuwa's writing, though, in recent history, though, is that it allows for so many interpretations, and it allows for different people to resonate with things differently, like different aspects of it. And I think that's a testament of actual, genuinely good writing.
Yeah.
Which is...
I feel like Kuro Games put a lot of thought into writing the dialogue in this quest, because like I said, as somebody who has been to therapy before, I feel like the way Luke handled Rova's grief and the way he spoke to Rova very much felt like an actual professional therapist helping someone who's dealing with grief and loss, and I thought that was so well done.
All right, Amanda, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, many thoughts. First of all, I always do have to say, even though I have worked on this game, I'm not privy to anything that is happening in the game currently, so nothing I say can be considered canon or anything. I have to always disclaim that, because people tend to jump on anything I say and be like, oh, so this is confirmed. Everything I say is my own opinion as someone who's playing the game, not as someone who has worked on the game, because as you will know, I'm not in this part of the story. So with that being said, I think one of the things I really appreciate about especially the 3.1 storyline, is that I think it does a really good job of humanizing Rover. Not that Rover hasn't been humanized before, but I think there is, to me certainly, the way I see it, a clear evolution of Rover being incredibly stoic in 1.x, even, with crazy things happening around them, but becoming more and more like a person, showing more emotion, which we're also seeing in the vocal performances, which is really lovely, I think. But we're also starting to have these moments where Rover doubts themselves. That happened even in 2.x. We have other characters criticizing Rover and past Rover's choices. Frolova is a really good example of that. We have moments where Rover fails now in 3.1, right? Like Rover does not save the day the way they wanted to. I mean, they do save Imith in a sense, because the loop exists, but they didn't save her the way they wanted to, and that's kind of a first for them that we are experiencing. And I think it was really interesting to see how many players it seemed like so many people were shell-shocked after 3.1 and Imith's quest, and a lot of people were, really hit by it and felt like they didn't want to play for a while, or, they felt really affected by it, even outside of the game, which I think is testament to great writing. But what I then think is interesting is, to me, it seems like it's a story that is very cleverly crafted to work on two levels. For Rover, all of this is obviously a massive shift. Rover learned so much about themselves in 3.1, I think more than they have done in any specific previous patch that I can remember. We had huge lore dumps, and maybe Rini can weigh in on that. But we learned a lot about Rover's backstory, right, and who they are, why they're here, all of these things that were very interesting. And at the same time, we learn about Imeth and what her relationship with Rover is. And so there's so much Rover's finding out in a very short amount of time. And I think then immediately losing Imeth again after just having found her, I think was such a whiplash experience for many people that they didn't know how to react to it. And obviously Rover is also going through the same thing. Now, what I think is really clever about Luke's segue is, as we were saying, yes, it's therapy, but it's not just therapy for Rover, it's also therapy for the player. Because all the players who were left, absolutely stunned and shocked and couldn't believe that, but Rover always saves the day and we couldn't this time, and what's going to happen? All the people who are left like that, they kind of needed the same pep talk from Luke that he gives Rover, right? And I think it's just so clever to have the game work both for the character but also for the player, whether or not you're playing Rover as a self-insert, because some people do and some don't. But either way, I think it works. And what I really liked about his story is it is short, but you get so much information there. We do learn a lot about him. We learn loads about the Fraxidus, like we've already said, which I feel like it's setting up a roadmap, I think, for what's going to happen in 3.x, right? Places we're going to go. We heard about New Federation. We heard about another place that at this point I've forgotten, but where Hanami is part of, right? We heard of that region as well. We hear of many new places that presumably we're going to go or interact with. We heard of many Fraxidus overseers that we know and some we didn't know before, but we'll probably meet. But also, I think more than anything, Luke's segue gave us hope, because what he's saying at the end is, yes, odds are bad of rescuing Imeth, but it's not impossible. And there are leads now. We have actionable things we can look into, places we can go, people we can talk to. So for everyone, including Rover, who might have been feeling very distraught after how the main story in 3.1 ends, now we have hope, and also we have a character who's introduced as someone from our past, which isn't a new thing in this game, granted, that happens a lot, but someone who is clearly loyal to Rover, who seems like a very solid, reliable friend, at the very least, depending on your headcanon, but who in itself, I think, will have ties to the main quests, I imagine, because we learned a lot about Luke, but I think there's also a lot of questions about Luke that weren't answered. We know about his prior connections with the Fraxidus. We know about the Grand Architect impersonating his father for a while, but we don't quite know all the things about, well, what is going on with this blood that he has? Is that something that he was born with? Is that an experiment that was done? What is it that everyone wants with the blood and Noviale and all of these things? There are so many things like the Fraxidus campus politics. I imagine Star Torch Academy is going to be a place with so many vested interests that you can trust no one. And that sets up, again, some very interesting story possibilities. So I just feel like we've been left with hope, but also so many questions. And that is a really delicious place to be in, is my point.
That was beautifully said. Damn. Okay, Age, what are your thoughts?
I get what you mean about the going last thing, because it's like every person is like going down my bullet list, and then Amanda went on the last point on my list.
I'm so sorry. Please weigh in though.
Oh no, it's totally fine. I love listening to everyone else's opinions as well. It's very validating. But I mean, I think everyone has kind of basically said everything about the story itself, so maybe I'll talk a bit more about the more like meta aspect of how they did the story in terms of the game as a whole, I would say. Because for when we were talking about how the story, like the length of the story, right? I know like Stix, you said that you wanted it to be longer, and then Zora also wanted it to be shorter. For me, I think I'm kind of like in the middle, where I don't want it to be like that much longer, but I do wish there was like a little bit extra time where they could kind of invest a bit of time into exploring Luke's backstory that we saw in his trailer. Because like Sevy said, right, with Mornier's trailer and Luke's trailer, for me, I feel like if I had not watched those two trailers, my experience of the story would have been completely different if I did not have that prior knowledge about those two individuals as people. And I do wish that they would kind of include some of that in the game, because I think that trailers are like amazing for enhancing the experience of the actual game itself, but should not be there to replace, I guess, storytelling that should be happening within the game as well. So I feel like the segue, maybe if they had at the beginning, they had a little extra like 15-20 minute section where they just kind of explored a little bit more about Luke's backstory mayhaps. Even if they just like shoved the trailer in the story itself, I think that would have honestly been enough, at least just to have it there within the story somehow. So yeah, like I do hope that in the future they don't like go too far down the line of, okay, we're gonna give all of this backstory in the trailers and then not include it within the game, because then it can definitely, I think, affect how you perceive your actual experience when playing the story yourself. And not that it's like a lazy way to kind of insert lore, but it's kind of like a little bit of a slippery slope, right? If you're spending too much, putting too much actual lore into these easier methods such as trailers to present it, then you end up not really having to figure out ways to incorporate it within the actual writing. But then you also don't want to make the writing too like focused on things that don't necessarily matter to the main story, right? So it's a balance that they kind of have to strike. But I do hope that they maybe like think about that a little bit more. And then in terms of like the segue quest in 3.1 as well, I actually think that the segue quest and the way that they handled it overall, with how it was quite literally a direct continuation to 3.1, the main story quest with Imyth, but then also a little bit of a separate entity on its own, if that makes sense, was super, super smart from a kind of like story, from like, I guess a dev perspective in terms of how they're splitting the quest. Because one of the issues I had with 3.0, and also, I mean, this also extends back to the like Augusta Yuno stuff, is that I feel like there are some quests where the writers did struggle a bit to kind of make it feel like a cohesive story, even if the plot itself is obviously directly affecting what's going on. I like, for me personally, and I know a lot of people as well, there's a lot of sentiments that make it kind of feel like, okay, sometimes the main story quests do feel a little bit too like companion questy or companion quest heavy, where it feels like we're just kind of following one character storyline. Sure, the character is like connected to the lore, but then it doesn't really feel like we're actually doing stuff for the main story still, because we're just kind of going off like on our own to do something that's kind of connected and important, but more so it's like just a plot point. It's like, okay, we're doing this plot point, but then I don't know. I'm not too sure how to describe it fully, but I think, okay, an easy example is in 4.0, right? Like I feel like 4.0, the way that they handled Lene's story and Mornier's story, they definitely could have incorporated both stories. I think they could have intertwined both of their stories very easily into a bit more of an overarching story. And I do actually like it when they split the stories into sections within the patches, because then it gives players something to look forward to for the second half of the patch. But I think that 3.1 is like kind of, in a way, the perfect balance, because not every story will be able to be split into two halves perfectly like 2.4 was, right? With the Lupa story, I think that story was perfect in like two halves exactly, like as main story quest parts. But then not every single story is going to be like that. So then being able to have a kind of like bigger section of story, like the beginning of 3.1 with Imyth, and that main story section, I think that having that as one whole like large part was very, very effective, because then you're able to get the full emotional impact and value of that section. And then having this much like shorter segue quest after that basically ties up some of the loose ends that they weren't able to address in the main story quest, and then also are able to set up a bunch of the lore, you know, give us a bunch of the lore drops that might not have made sense when we are trying to go through that emotional journey with the other characters, and then also, you know, give us all those questions for the future as well. So I think in terms of a like planning perspective, from a more like game creation perspective, I think 3.1 was really, really good, and kind of like the perfect combination between how we saw in, was it 2.4? Sorry if I'm mixing up like the actual patch numbers, but the anniversary patch, right, where we got that kind of segue quest as well with Chiokona, where that gave us a bunch of lore. Obviously, it would have been nice if we had like an actual main story in that quest, in that patch as well, but they kind of like are taking these things that they've tried out in the previous region, in the previous updates, and then applying them to, you know, new story and how it's being written. And I do hope that they continue like trying to, you know, experimenting a little bit with things like this, because trying to apply the same formula to every single story quest we get obviously is not always going to work. So it's a good thing that they are kind of moving things around. And then I think 3.1 was a very, very successful iteration of them trying to pace things and how they're going to maybe write things from this point onwards. So yeah, that's kind of some like more not like story specific thoughts, but I thought that was pretty cool as well, because I really enjoyed the way that they paced everything this time around. So I hope that continues down the line as well with future stories.
Speaking of pacing though,
I think.
Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, because I think pacing is one of the most important things when you want to have a story that really has that emotional impact and also like is a good experience for the player. Because if you have some bad pacing, even in a really well-written story, then it will end up not really hitting as hard. So. Yeah.
Speaking on pacing though, I think Wuwa and Kudo do actually a fantastic job here of kind of condensing everything into something that's easily digestible for players, because in a lot of other gacha games, not naming names, but they're stories that can be very easily condensed into something a fraction of the time that go on for 5, 10, 15 hours. And Kudo with Wuwa somehow managed to kind of introduce so many different story elements, characters, and then again, like present it in a way that's so neatly tied up and that you can also complete in like 2 to 3 hours. And that makes for something that's a lot more casual friendly. It makes for something that doesn't have like a lot of exposition present, and that is just overall like I think a much better experience. I think when broken up into two, because I know you touched on this just a minute ago, but breaking up into 2 separate versions actually allows for a more fluid, like long-term style of consumption of the game. Because like I think there's nothing worse for a game than when you're presented with a patch release and then you finish it day one, because there are a lot of people that just no life these games and no life to patches, and they'll play like the entire 10 hours day one and then spend the next 6 weeks complaining there's nothing to do. And I think with how Kudo are releasing these like segmented or fragmented patches, they're allowing for people to experience something shorter that they can digest very easily, and then they come back a couple weeks later, there's motivation for them to come back a few weeks later and then finish it off the second half. And it also kind of keeps things flowing on social media in terms of active discussions and everything a lot better, and keeps the game more relevant as well long term, because these discussions are continuously happening. But real quick though, regarding the story and Luke's story specifically, last podcast, and I've said this ever since I saw her, I think it was back in 3.0, but did anyone else call Navora being a bad guy? Like, am I the only one that was just like...
She was
immediately. I was spending the entire time in the frost ends being like, yo, the moment she hit the pose, okay? The moment she hit the pose,
the absolute
I was like,
cinema
God
pose.
damn it.
It's also very unnatural for a normal student to be so interested in everything they're seeing, like overly interested. I mean, fair enough if it was a normal student, but it was kind of sus to begin with. So.
Yeah. I think it kind of worked out though, because Navora, from what they showed towards the start of 3.1, she's very passionate about like what she studies. She seems to be like one of the smartest students in the class. So, especially because she was Lucilla was making Navora give like a speech about Royan history. So I think the GA taking on her identity kind of makes sense, because no one's gonna really be obviously us as players are going to be suspicious of her, but the people around her aren't going to be suspicious because she is allowed to be in those kind of areas, and she can just act as a really passionate student who just wants to find out more knowledge and like what's going on and stuff like that. So I think the GA was very tactical in choosing her as like the one he was going to possess.
What
I
I've
also wonder if... Oh.
Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was gonna talk about, because I also wonder if the Navora specifically, them choosing, since we don't know their gender, yeah. Navora specifically was due to that mysterious spy that they were mentioning at in the tail end of the 3.1 segue, because they mentioned a child that is working.
Right.
They said like that child, who is essentially implied to be working for the Fraxidus, who is somewhere in the academy. So who knows who that is? Like we don't know. I know people are speculating. Oh, is it Sigrika or is it like other people?
I think it could be. I think it could be Sigrika because like she was the closest to Navora, but also Sigrika
exactly.
is one of the Soul Swan, so she has a lot of ties to the Heliotic Six, and there's a lot of stuff that the Roya have actually kept from the rest of Solaris, like Lahat Roya as a whole, especially when it was in like its native era. There was a lot of people who would come from all across Solaris, even people from Huanglong, who would visit that, and they would basically try to bribe the Roya to give them more information, and the Roya were obviously like, no, we're not doing that because this information is sacred to us. We're not just going to give that up. So I think it could be Sigrika, but I do think that if it is Sigrika, I don't think it's because she's like quote unquote evil. I think she may be being blackmailed with something, and like she basically has no choice but to be a spy.
Yeah, because we also don't know who specifically helped him destroy the thing. Destroyed the gate to begin with.
Yeah.
Because the gate was in Roya territory, so...
I actually have a theory on who the spy might be.
Oh?
Cardathea.
Say that to her face.
I mean, that would be
look in her eyes.
He's innocent.
Do you think these are the eyes of someone who would betray her companions?
Maybe.
Maybe. By the way,
that would be a great twist.
It would be. That'd be a great way of reintroducing Cardathea into the 3.x series. There you go.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm ready. Just call me Kuro.
By the way, Amanda, before we go any further, how did it feel voicing Cardathea like such a... Because I know this is like a small little segue into the 2.x series, but for you... Because Cardathea, I think, was kind of like a major turning point for Wuwa. And because like prior to the 2.x series, Wuthering Waves wasn't nearly the international worldwide sensation that it has now become. And with like Imeth and her sales in theory being even higher than Cardathea's, who were also the highest at its respective point in the franchise's history, like how did it feel essentially being the reason that the game became the explosive hit that it did, and voicing a character that has become such like an integral part of the entire game?
Humbling. I have to be honest and say, obviously, I was only one person who contributed to that. Obviously, the writers and everyone who was involved with creating that story and the character in the first place have the majority of credit, because I think whoever voiced that character, it would have still been a popular character. But I am very, very honored that I was one of the people given the opportunity to voice the character in the international version. And it was interesting because at the time, as I think a lot of you know, projects are codenamed for actors when we're auditioning, so I didn't know what it was for. I just came in and read some lines, and I knew they wanted 2 voices for the character, and I thought, yep, fair enough, say less. And I did that, and I thought, oh, that was lovely, but I'll never hear anything from them again, right? Like, that was just an audition. And then I got the job, and I was like, oh, how exciting. This is probably an NPC, like someone who just shows up for a quest and says 5 lines, and then we'll never see them again, because the first session I recorded was the end of 2.0, where Cardathea has a very small appearance. And I thought that was like the scope of the character. Like, she's just gonna show up and give us some information, like a quest giver or something, and then she's gonna never be seen again. So I think it didn't really occur to me until I was recording for 2.2 how big the character was actually going to be. And I'm glad that I didn't, because I would have been intimidated. So I was kind of glad that I only found out as I was doing it, like, oh wait, this is a major character and this is a major game. Okay, great. But the team was so lovely to work with, both the team at Side, but also, as I'm sure some of you will have heard by now, Kuro do sit in on all these recording sessions. I think there's a lot of misinformation from people who probably aren't in the know, but make assumptions about how localization is actually happening in practice. But to clarify, there are directors from the English side, of course, but also there are people from Kuro involved in every session. So there are writers from Kuro, directors from Kuro. We've got like a hotline from China with all these people listening into every session. So nothing happens in any of our recording sessions that Kuro aren't signing off on. They are making the selects. It's not the English voice director making the selects. It is Kuro themselves. So I just think that's a good point to clarify in this day and age, because a lot of people don't quite know how that works. But it was very, very humbling. I am so honored that Cardathia was such a popular character. It's the kind of role you dream of getting as a voice actor, not just because of the high profile nature of it, but also just because she's a complex character, and the fact that she has two sides to her, two voices, and that I got to do two voices was just the best possible role you could ever get, isn't it? You get to do multiple things in one character. And I think for Cardathia, in fact, there's probably more like 3 or 4 voices, because there are all these like gradual stages of how assimilated the voices are. So there were a lot of different iterations of it, and that was just a really fun challenge. So I'm so grateful that I got to be part of that.
That's actually a very interesting look behind the scenes. Because like as a content creator, people love to like latch onto an idea of what they think something is or is about, and then they just like go with that narrative. But for voice acting, like that's a perspective that I never ever thought about, really. So speaking of though Cardathia and how imperative she was for 2.x, this is for everyone. Do you guys think that Imeth is going to be like essentially the Cardathia of 3.x, as in she's going to be like the focal point, the like imperative to the story's progression overall? You guys can take this in any order you want.
I don't think so, in the same sense that she's going to be necessarily super present like throughout directly, if that makes sense, because Cardathia was kind of like there doing stuff like in person, right? Once we freed her for the rest of the story. I think with Imeth, at least this is what I would like with Imeth, and I do feel like there is a possibility of this based on how they've kind of set it up, is that I think that Imeth will be kind of like the end goal for us, maybe in 3.x. Kind of like the end goal is for us to essentially go, square up with Aleph 1, and then also subsequently rescue Imeth as well. And I hope that we have like a kind of long journey to discover the truths of what's happening with the Fraxidus, and then kind of work towards that end goal as a whole. So then it's not like she'll be physically present, but more so like emotionally, or like present in the background as like as an objective, if that makes sense. Because I was actually surprised that they introduced her like so early into the story, because I expected her to kind of have the same progression as Cardathia, right? Where she, we have a few patches where we do stuff and then she kind of comes into the story more directly. But no, they just dropped it like patch 2. They were like, okay, here is the like entirety of Imeth's story for the most part of everything that's been leading up to this so far. And because they've kind of scaled up the world so much in 3.1, I do feel like we can possibly anticipate them to kind of go all out in terms of maybe like the direction that they're going to take the story in. So it's not going to be like, okay, we're kind of like getting this, in a way, a sort of like cookie cutter, like different iteration of a story we've seen before. But I think they really just might go, I have no idea exactly where they're going to go with this, but I feel like the possibilities that they've opened up with the style that they've kind of gone with 3.0 and 3.1 is the possibilities are endless, and that's why I'm like kind of really, really excited for 3.x as a whole.
My hope is that they don't kind of wrap up Imeth's story too quickly, and that it's kind of spread over the an overarching like eight or so patches, that like there's this big climax at the end with her. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I also think like it minimizes the impact of her sacrifice if she just shows up the next patch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like also the developers wants us to miss her and fight for her and have her in mind, and always like have that that motivation to either save her or just always have her in mind and see if they can save her again. If they cannot, I mean, honestly, I think if they choose that we cannot save her, I think that would be devastating, but I also think that would be like a wake-up call for Wuwa players. Like, there's a character that can actually die and never come back. That would be crazy.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can already see the drama on social media if they went that route.
There's gonna be a huge debate online for sure.
That'd be crazy.
I mean, she can come
yeah.
back, but there needs to be a lot of time and a lot of effort and sacrifice made before we're able to get her back for there to be the impact. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll need to work for it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Age that like she seems to be set up as like a more driving force to move Rover's actions along. But I do hope that she pops up in her sort of vegetable self from time to time. Maybe there's some scenes or flashbacks of Rover visiting her like over the weeks, and I feel like that would really hit hard pretty emotionally, you know, especially for players who have had similar experiences. And I don't expect Imeth to do anything like action wise or like for the story or for the plot anytime soon. But it would be interesting if like we do revisit her character every now and then, whether through flashbacks or through other characters talking about her, or just like more stuff about her being revealed. And as much as like Imeth is central to it, I am really interested as well to see how they're going to get the other characters to complement that entire plot that they already set up with Imeth, because like Luke's role, they clearly carved him out to be like this facilitator, but also like a guiding and therapizing kind of figure for Rover, which in this moment is what she needs. And if your speculation about Sigurka happens to be like accurate, then that's going to be really interesting, and we'll see like how that also contrasts to what Imeth went through, for example, and then the other characters down the line.
Rini, Eru, do you guys have any input?
Silence. I was waiting to see if Rini has anything to say first.
It was like a standoff. Ari, you can go first.
Who will speak first?
Yeah.
What was the question again? I lost my train of thought. I was so like paying attention to what everyone was saying. I was like, what was I gonna say?
Imeth's role, I guess. Do we think Imeth is going to?
Yeah, like it's going to be remain a
Talk
central
about her role in 3.x.
Yeah, a central figure moving forward.
Yeah, I think like what Zora and Sevy said, I think she's going to be like the key motivation, basically, right? She's going to be the driving force for Rover's action, I think, for the rest of 3.0 at the very least, where, you know, whatever action he takes, I think at the core of it all, it will be, how can I save Ameth? How can I get her back? So I think it would be really nice, you know, if we do get some flashbacks and moments to add to the emotional damage, reminding us that, look, who is there but is not here right now. Just, you know, keep putting salt on the wound, reminding the viewer, the players of what we don't have. I think that would make it a really, really, really well pay off if we are able to save her in the end. Like we talked about earlier, I think if they did make the decision that we just can't save her, like she's just gone forever, I think that would create a huge controversy on the internet. Personally, I would like to have my daughter back, but I think there needs to be a lot of, you know, time, effort, sacrifice. Like, we need to go through a lot. And it needs to be convincing, right? We can't just get her back too easily. Yeah, and I hope that Kuro Games will deliver on that. Yeah.
Rini.
So, like Eru says, like I personally would also like Imeth back. As I said, I think I said this last time, like last podcast, but I have really been enjoying how the characters have been really treating Rover like an actual person and like humanizing them. Because as I said last time, I think people tend to forget that Rover's not perfect. They have flaws, they make mistakes, they have feelings just like everyone else. The whole case of getting Imith back, it gives me so much anxiety because I don't know how we're gonna do it. I don't know how we're gonna get her back. I'm just trying to think of like the logistics.
We square up with Aleph.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like if we open the gate, like what the? We're gonna let out Aleph 1, and Aleph 1 is like the scariest Thenodian we've ever faced. It's not even from Solaris, which is terrifying. And inside Void Space is all of the civilizations that it had consumed. It's like, how are you supposed to go against all of that? I don't know. I think if it's either going to be yes, we open the Strider Gate and Imith comes out with Aleph 1. Or, have you guys seen the Chisa theories?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, actually, yes, I have.
A few of
The
them.
Chisa theories. There's a lot of theories about it, and I was actually I was reading up on like some lore to do with Chisa and like what she can actually do, and I don't know. I'm kind of becoming a little bit convinced, but I don't think she will be able to go toe to toe with the Thenodian because I just think that will be a bit ridiculous in terms of power scaling. That would make her really freaking powerful, especially because Aleph 1 isn't from Solaris. And then that would bring about questions of, okay, how powerful are the Sentinel resonators and stuff like that. But I do think maybe with her forte being able to potentially cut through the fabric of space, I think maybe we can do like a little Mission Impossible situation where she just sneaks into the void space and gets Imith out. You know, I feel like that could work. But yeah, I think like Aru said, I want that to be I don't want her to come back straight away. Like I definitely am expecting that all to happen towards like the finale of the patch. Because I think it would just kind of diminish her entire impact on Rover as a character, but also us as an audience. And I think stuff like grief is something that everyone can relate to, sadly. And you know, what we do with grief, it can either be a suppressant or a big drive. So I think we just need to go through the motions of actually grieving the loss of Imith right now, and then hopefully in the future we get her back.
Speaking of Aleph not being from Solaris, what does everyone think about the lore drop about Rover's history and where Rover's, you know, theoretically from and their inability to get home and, you know, the whole abandonment issue?
Oh, I loved it.
It's so good.
That was so good. I loved it because because this entire time it's like, oh, Rover is the ideal hero, like she's kind of put on a pedestal, and then it turns out that actually Rover is a victim, which is almost like in some sense the complete opposite of what I thought she would be. And the way that they actually enacted it or presented it, like you could tell how heavy Rover's character pre-memory wipe, she sounded so heavy, like so weighed down by everything, like she was trying so hard. And I don't know yet if that's like the core reason why she chose a memory wipe. Probably lots of other things that they're still going to lore drop. But with how depressed she sounded, I wouldn't have been surprised if that was like one of the main reasons, because it was just so emotional.
Zora, what do you think?
And also the fact that...
Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. Zora can go after you.
I'm sorry. I keep yapping. Oh no. I'll be quick then, I guess. No, just like because of like to build on a Sevy's point. It's like the fact that now that we've learned that Rover is just one cog in the machine, it also on top of all the character development we get, it's so important, I think, because again, it's just another thing that helps us make Rover feel like they are an actual character. Right? They're no longer this idealized hero. They're no longer the most powerful being. They're no longer the one who's in control of everything. They are someone who actually has so little control, because to the point where they were sent here and then they literally are unable to go back. Yes, past Rover had all that knowledge, but at the same time, that knowledge in a way was also this massive burden, right? So then getting to see a more direct impact of that kind of burden that they had to bear before we had our amnesia arc is really, really interesting, and also just so important in humanizing Rover even further, because Wuthering Waves is a story that is very focused on Rover as the main character. Everything that we have in Wuwa is centered around Rover. So then, it's not like that this is the first time we're seeing it, but I am very, very glad that they are spending all this, putting all this effort into giving us more and more reasons to really empathize and feel for Rover as a person, because for a story that's focused around them, we need to feel that. Otherwise, they do feel a bit too much like a self-insert. They feel like this just perfect person, and then no one's perfect, and then it makes you really, really care a lot more about the MC and subsequently the rest of the story and everyone else involving the interacting with the MC as well. So
I don't know. I'd wager there are some people that think Luke is perfect.
I mean,
with that flame background, oh yeah, that was like eye candy. Oh my god.
If evil
Yeah,
went
when they
on,
released that animation of him just cooking, I was like,
oh my god, yes.
can this man get any more perfect?
That was so peak. It's so funny how they laid out all his fan service on the videos and the social media, and then in the actual story, he's just therapy man, he's so chill. Sorry,
Wife
but
of the pack.
before that, I just wanted to also add on to what Age said about Rover further getting humanized. One quote of Luke's that really stuck out to me was, we didn't just follow you because you're a hero or you're the hero. We followed you because you're you. That's probably not verbatim, but for me, that stuck out because if he had said that in 2.x, or if someone had said that in 2.x, I would have been like, okay, but who actually is Rover? Rover doesn't seem like a fully fledged character and person yet, but at this given point in time, through all the previous events, and all the recent events, Rover has a much more concrete character to land that quote on, and I felt like it hit really well.
All right.
Knowing that Luke and Rover have a history together makes a lot of Luke's dialogue in the Sea Quest hit really hard. I also really like when Rover asked Luke, do you think, it's possible for me to save Amith? And his answer was, you're gonna need a miracle, but you're good at making those happen. I loved that line. I love that line so much. It's he doesn't say yes, but he's giving Rover that hope, and I feel like it hits as hard as it did because they have a history together. Yeah.
Wait, Eru, how large is your notepad file of quotable lines from Luke exactly?
I think I just remembered some of them off by heart because it hit so hard for me. I wasn't expecting so many lines to hit so hard for me.
All right, Reedy, Amanda, Zora, what do you guys think?
I mean, personally, I didn't like Rover at the beginning of the game. Honestly, I really hated them. But I can see they've always been a flawed character, and because I never thought of them as this godlike being ever before. And because I always thought they were of course they have crazy things they can do that nobody else can do, but at the same time, their personality didn't match. And of course it wouldn't, because they don't remember anything. But for the first time now, more than ever, I finally can see where they're trying to go with Rover's character. I'm actually seeing Rover as a character more than just it's just there. I feel like Rover's, what was I saying? I was about to say something. I forgot.
I felt that.
Anyways, but yeah, they really humanized and made Rover more with a personality now, because they're trying to understand where they're from, who they are, and they're meeting all these people that they obviously knew in the past. And for me, I'm just keep thinking about like why did they erase their memories when they have so many people that care about them? Because I feel like the reason that Rover did it was probably because to save someone, they had to do it. I feel like I don't feel like it's for selfish reason because they were burdened by their power or their role in this whole thing. They have to save the world, whatever it was. I feel like they had to do it to save everyone or someone.
Wouldn't it be wild to think that Rover wiped their memory to stop themselves from doing or saving someone because they know that the consequences of saving them would be, you know, detrimental to like a world or, you know, the I don't know, collective of people. Like if the direct consequence of them saving a person would then potentially destroy something, a world or a civilization, or allow for something to come out or someone to come out that shouldn't be, and they knew that they would, you know, just by extension of them being Rover, attempt to save them.
Well, there comes the question if Rover was selfish back then, like they only wanted to protect the people they care about, or they cared about Solaris 3. That's like the thing here. I don't believe, or I don't know, but it seems like Rover didn't care about Solaris 3, but rather the people in it. And more like, I don't know actually, to be honest, because if they could only save one person, then that defies that they cared about anyone else, right? So yeah, that's a good question. I can't answer that.
That's the moral dilemma, though, right? Are you going to like save that person that you have that connection with, or are you going to try to save this more like general mass of people that you know is for like the greater good? Like obviously you can care about both, but maybe it's like which one do you care about more? And then maybe Rover wasn't like knew that they would be unable to, like you said, to make that decision. So then they would be forced to. That's why it's like, you know, it's easier to just not have to deal with that decision to begin with. And then goodbye memories, and then
because maybe
things play out again.
Maybe Rover wasn't even the one that chose the memory wipe. Maybe that, you know, they were going to attempt to save someone, and that someone told them to wipe their memories to stop them from doing it.
I mean, it did sort of seem like people were aware that Rover was going to do the memory wipe, because I remember Luke mentioned that Rover mentioned to him that he was going to do the memory wipe and then come back in the future. So I do think there was some awareness of the memory wipe from Rover's perspective before it happened. It seemed a little bit premeditated. Just whether or not that premeditation was, you know, what factors led to that premeditation, I think, is where the entire mystery lies.
And also, if Rover was this godlike being, what person or thing can wipe their memory, right? They should be the overall godlike being. Nobody should be able to do that in the first place, I feel like.
And like, who's the goddess from the beginning of the game too, right? The very first cutscene, we assumed that she was like some goddess from some a greater power. But then now that we know that Rover literally came here because of their planet, then what role does that goddess play? Because clearly they're not just a god that exists. They seem to be some sort of entity and has some sort of purpose for being here and existing and intercepting or interacting with Rover. Like, are they from Rover's planet? Maybe that's just like someone from the planet who cared about Rover, was trying to help, or
yeah, I was thinking
Lord Goddess
has all the answers.
Wait,
I
need to like breathe and like try and remember all of like my thousands of pages of notes. So we do know who we don't know her name. There's a theory that her name is I'm pretty sure, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like Ananka or something. It's a Greek goddess, and obviously Wuwa takes a lot of references from Greek mythology. So the unknown goddess is actually one of technically 3 instances that were sent to Solaris, and they all come from the Her civilization. Do you guys know who the Her civilization is?
I briefly remember. I vaguely remember, sorry.
It's okay. I'm just checking so I don't start like talking about stuff that like no one gets. So basically, her civilization were a ancient civilization. You might actually remember them from the, like the Black Shores arc. You know how they talk about how the Tethys system had been around for like ages and upon ages. That the Tethys system was actually created by the Her civilization, and a lot of things in Solaris were created by them. Even the moon. You know how the moon always looks funky as hell in different regions? It's because, well, that's because of the Etheric Sea, but that moon was actually created by the Her civilization. And in the, I'm pretty sure it's the Black Shores teaser on YouTube. It's really cryptic. Like nothing really. It doesn't really show a lot. It's just a lot of like zooms and stuff like that. But there's like some text in it that's in like the Wuwa language, and I'm pretty sure when it's deciphered, it talks about instance 1 and instance 2. And we know that the second instance is actually Shorekeeper. And Shorekeeper is all about space. She's that's like all of the different kind of imagery that's in her, like her character design and like what she actually does and stuff like that. And then instance 1 alludes to the unknown goddess, and she is involved with time. And there's actually a really cool little reference that Shorekeeper actually says. I think it's in her ultimate animation. She says something about in war with time. And then that's where the whole Mobius loop comes into play, where time and space shouldn't be able to like intersect with each other and stuff like that, which is why the unknown goddess is potentially outside of Solaris, doing whatever she's doing. We don't know what she's doing yet, but she's doing something. But actually, there was a it's all the way back in 1.0, which I know is super annoying because 1.0 lore is just very annoying in general, but the Court of Savante were actually trying to they replicated the unknown goddess into like this entity, because they don't really explain how it happened, but they caught a glimpse of her somehow. So she appeared in Solaris at one point, and I'm pretty sure in one of the notes that you can find around the Court of Savante ruins in Huanlong, they mention that, I think it says something like it once visited Solaris or something like that, which means that like she had actually been in Solaris at one point, and then that also links into the whole Her civilization stuff and how they visited Solaris and gave them technology, and that then links to Shanli Yao and his dad disappearing because he wanted to reach the limit of the universe, and then his relation to the Court of Savante as a whole, and how they actually made a portal that goes potentially to outside Solaris 3, outside the Etheric Sea and stuff like that. So yeah, the Unknown Goddess is basically one of the instances potentially made by the Her civilization to do whatever Rover's goal is on the planet.
I have a quick question.
Sorry.
So, oh no, ready. Wait, can I? So you know how like in 2.x we have that like the thingy, the artifact that we get in the Augusta quest, and then we actually get to see like in game the Unknown Goddess within that like message.
Oh,
or whatever,
Imperator's
or that
capsule.
Space. Yeah. Like what
Yeah.
was that? What was that connection?
Wait, sorry. Say that question
I
again.
totally forgot about
What
that.
is like the connection between that to what you just talked about?
The
Is that
Unknown Goddess
the replication
being that?
Yeah.
So when, if I'm remembering correctly, when Rover enters, we see the Unknown Goddess because the capsule is reacting to Rover's presence. So it's basically just like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm trying to like conceptualize my thoughts properly.
So maybe it's like we saw it because we are maybe like connected in some way to the Unknown Goddess. So then it's like the power like allowed us to glimpse it for a split second.
Yeah, so it would, because
that?
Rover's the arbiter, they have the ultimate authority over the Sentinels and stuff like that, and potentially maybe Solaris. But yeah, it was just like, it's basically like a security system just activating to like recognize that like, oh, this person is basically like the admin in a way. It was like a reference basically.
Oh my god, the Unknown Goddess is just working in IT.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't
She's
actually
tech
know what
support
she's
for Solaris.
doing, but we do know that she does have relations to
I'm sorry.
time. No, it's okay. You're okay. Especially because of like her imagery and stuff. Like she has like the if you look at she has like these massive like circles behind her. It kind of looks like a cycle, like an orbital cycle. So that can then relate to like her being the quote unquote goddess of time and whatever.
Am I the only one here that didn't know literally any of that, or?
I'm so sorry.
No,
Like,
I appreciate it.
I feel like such a loser because this is all I do. I just read and read and read and write. Yeah.
We
someone
need
need me.
someone like you in the Wuthering Waves community.
Yeah,
we
never
need you.
apologize.
Thanks,
Learn
guys.
so much.
I'm trying to like explain it in a way that's not too overwhelming because like sometimes I feel like it makes sense in my head, but then having to explain it out loud, it's like so hard sometimes. I'm usually better
I'm
at
just sitting
writing
here
it
trying to
down
not ask
fast.
too many questions.
No,
Exactly.
honestly,
Pulling myself
honestly.
back from being like, Rini Sensei, tell me about this next.
No, honestly, ask away. Like it's fine.
Okay, Amanda, what are your thoughts on everything
Well.
we just learned and like the lore drops for Rover?
Let me summarize that in a singer. No, I think that's all brilliant. Weirdly, because I speak to life lessons a bit, I was actually aware of the hair civilization because he's told me loads about them. But I think you summarized that really well. And I think when I started playing this game, I think because I started playing it later, I wasn't day one because I didn't know it existed, right? So I didn't start playing it until I think May last year. So when it was already in 2.3. So I started quite late. And I think I had no real expectation of what the story was going to be outside of what I'd worked on, which is obviously completely different than the 1.x storyline. So when I opened that game, I think weirdly my first impulse was, oh, Rover is from space because of how that opening sequence is. And I just thought, well, this is a sci-fi-esque game. Checks out. I didn't really question it. So I think it's so interesting now that when we learned what we learned about Rover's origins in 3.1, I think my gut reaction was, but didn't we know that? And I think I just realized that that was just my assumption, but that was unfounded because you're right, we don't know specifically, who the goddess is. I think everything you said is probably exactly correct, but we don't have enough information, I guess, to say with certainty where Rover is from specifically, just that it's outside of Solaris. But it's funny because I think I just remember that opening sequence and also where Rover falls through time or space or whatever they fall through and kind of come out on the other side of the etheric sea, and I just thought, oh yeah, well they're upside down in the ocean, so clearly that's they're from space. What else could it be, right? But it's so funny how I just accepted that and didn't ask a single question until now. That being said, whether or not it was something we saw coming or did not see coming, I like it because I think it just opens up the world and the setting. I think Wuthering Waves does seem to be quite sci-fi inspired. In a good way. I see it more as sci-fi than fantasy. Maybe Renacita was more of a sort of fantasy section, but I think overall 1.x and certainly now 3.0 feels sci-fi inspired to me. And I think it makes a lot of sense that the story is going to be bigger than just Solaris 3. And I think it's really nice that they're really opening up things that I think the lore people had already gleaned, but that maybe the more casual players of us have missed. This idea that there is a lot going on outside of Solaris, not just that Rover might be from there, but also all these questions about what's up with the fake moons and why is it that the etheric sea is there and why is it we can't go to space and why were people trying to go to space and all these things. I think it's really nice that those questions are coming back in and actually being a part of the main story now, or certainly being implied as relevant for the main story. I think the game does a good job of not overloading us with information because the clues were there in 1.x clearly because Rini found them. But I think it's nice that they were planting those little notes and seeds for people who were looking to find. But if they put all of that information front and center from the beginning, I think everyone's minds would have imploded because I think a lot of people got a little overloaded with information just in 1.1 and 1.0, right? Just from the sheer amount of text that was, presented. So I think it's clever. I love when a game puts something in it from the beginning, but you might miss it if you're not paying attention, or rather because you're not that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for something else that seems like that is the most important thing. And all the stuff that Rover's focused on in 1.0 obviously is important at the time, retroact rain, overthrax. There are a lot of things that seem like prudent to deal with. But I think it's nice that when those things are then introduced, like the fact that Rover is from outer space, has civilization, all these things, when that comes back into the main story, the clues were already there. So it doesn't feel like, oh, some random person just came up with something on the lunch break. Like, it was already there, and that makes it feel more believable to me that it was always there, but just, kind of hidden because we weren't looking for it. So I think that's my 2 cents on Rover being an alien.
I can't wait to see if we get to explore other planets, or if it's going to be confined to the world that we're currently on. Because, I mean, there are endless possibilities if that's the case, to present so many different kinds of civilizations, to present so many different dialects, so many different interpretations of regions found both in current world, potentially fantasy inspired. And I mean, if there's anything that we've learned in terms of like the aesthetic that Kuro can actually achieve, it's that they are very diverse. Like the Huanglong region, then Renacida, and then now in Lahairoi, everything is like such a stark contrast from one another that it feels like an entirely new world every time you enter it.
Well, it does make me wonder how much of an objective now it will be for Rover to break past the etheric sea, or for Rover to go beyond, because like that could be something later on that isn't really super important right now, unless there's like a solution to all their problems back there, or unless Rover for some reason rekindles their desire to go back home, and then the unknown goddess like pops up again. And I think like that's probably one of the things they'd have to address if they want to like go to other planets. But it would be really interesting and really surprising if they address that sooner rather than later, and then everything does open up. Like for me, it's kind of that thing where sometimes I expect K-dramas to end when the couple gets together, but then they get together and then more happens. So so it's like, what if they have that, they set up that objective, and then they actually reach it earlier than we expect, and then that kind of blooms every other possibility to come out. That would be really fun.
Eru, I know you briefly touched on it I don't know, like 10 minutes ago, but what are your thoughts?
Wait, I lost my train of thought again. What was that question again? I was paying so much attention to what Rini was saying in particular, because I'm not really
sorry.
good at no. I'm not really good at analyzing lore myself. So I really appreciate you and every lore creator in the space. We need more people like you. Really, like there are some people with no brain cells like me who need the lore creators to help us summarize things and give insights that wouldn't be able to pick up on myself. What was the question again?
It was more concerning Rover, where they're from, the lore drops we got, the history that we learned, everything like that.
Right.
In Dispatch.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that we're getting so much more on who Rover is and where they came from. And everybody's already said this already, but like 3.0 has been the most humanizing for Rover. And I honestly, I think Zora said this earlier, but like I didn't dislike Rover in the beginning, but I wasn't really interested in him. I'm not gonna lie. I was not very interested in Rover in the very beginning. I'm sure a lot of people share the same sentiment. But recently, more and more do I feel myself really caring for Rover and wanting to know, like who they really are. Like, who are these people that sent them to go on this mission to save the world? Like, I'm actually curious about Rover now. And I think that really shows how good the writing has been in 3.x, and I'm excited to see them expand on that even more. Yeah.
All right, talking about expansion on characters, what does everyone think about the 3.2 characters? Because we have Lucille and Sigrica coming. And or is Lucille confirmed to be coming in 3.2, or is it
I think
just
it might be
Sigrica?
just
Sigrica for
Sigrica.
3.2.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
just
just saw
Sigrica. And then
Sigrica.
I'm assuming rerun.
Okay, what does everyone think about the characters? Because, I mean, Luke had a lot of
character
hype.
model is like the prettiest one so far.
Wait, who's?
Sigrica's
Sigrica's character
Sigrika?
model is unmatched. Yeah,
Sigrika.
it's
I
unmatched.
really
I'm so
like her color
happy we got
palette.
to see her a little bit in Luke's Sea quest. We didn't get to see her much in the 3.1 main quest, so I was really happy we got a bit more of Sigrika. Her model is so pretty.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Oh.
She's I mean, she's not ugly. She's pretty, but she's. No, thank you.
I'm talking about like the model itself, like the design
Okay.
itself. It's like I'm like okay, but the model, like looking at her hair in the game, I was like, bro, there's something about this 3D model that they've made that just looks really good.
I'm still gonna pull her though.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm skipping. I'm trying my best.
I'm broke from Luke.
See,
Yeah, we heard the thousands of dollars you spent on him at the beginning.
I tried pulling for Luke after doing the story, even though I burned all my funds for Amos, and I lost my 50-50 to Genshin. Can I please get an F in chat?
No. Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna keep
If it helps,
trying.
I lost my 50-50 too.
Oh.
Oh no.
Wait, did anyone here actually win their Luke 50-50?
Yes.
I won
I
like
think I did.
3 of them.
There
I
we
actually
go.
got him early.
Wow.
Wow.
Congratulations.
So I love Wuwa to death. Like it was part of like the core foundation of kind of like my growth, I think, in 2024. But I absolutely loathe the 50-50 in the game because I've won one single 50-50 out of every character, and I pulled for every character except for
Really?
yeah. I've won one 50-50 in the entirety of the game's history of characters.
That's rough.
Wow.
Ouch.
That is rough.
Wow, I can never complain about my bad luck ever again. I'm so sorry. Holy guacamole.
Yeah, my bank account is
Whoa.
sorry too.
Oh.
Okay, what does everyone think about the Cyberpunk collab coming up then?
I'm so excited.
I'm excited,
God.
but I want more info. I want more info.
yeah, they're keeping
Give us
it
more
under
info.
wraps. They haven't said anything.
Yeah. I think they're gonna tease it for the 3.2 live stream
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh,
because they
ooh,
need to start
yeah,
building up
maybe.
hype again.
Yeah.
And the
Because
anniversary.
3.2 kind of
No, go
Okay.
on.
3.2 kind of feels like a bit more of like a like smaller story. I think it's still gonna be main story, but it's gonna be definitely a bit more chill. I think compared to
And then
3.1.
bam.
and then it's gonna like either like Cyberpunk is after that or it's gonna be like a big story patch and then Cyberpunk. I don't know, but you know.
Because when's the anniversary coming up?
up? Do you think they're doing Cyberpunk for anniversary?
Probably not. I think when is the anniversary? Like
It's early
So-
May,
It's
right?
May.
Yeah.
May.
It's May.
Yeah.
damn, that's soon.
3.3?
So it might be 3.3. yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Ooh.
3.
After the sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say about the Cyberpunk. I just assumed because of Luke talking about New Federation, and we've had hints about New Federation being a place that is of relevance. Everyone seems to be leaving it.
Mhm.
I just assumed that that's how they're going to work the Cyberpunk collaboration in, right? Like Night City is going to be New Federation, and so
That'd be cool.
That
for
would be
plot
so
reasons-
cool.
Again, this is a guess, guys.
No, I agree
this
too.
is a
That's
guess.
like-
Spoiler
But I
leak.
feel like that seems like the obvious way to meld those things together, right? Because it's a setting we haven't seen, but it's a setting that is described in a way that seems to match Night City quite well. From what we've heard from, the characters who are from there, and how Lene describes it, and how she was basically a mercenary there, it kind of feels like it could fit quite well, like aesthetically and now when Luke was mentioning Night City, he was mentioning New Federation as a place, of interest, and how there are Fractidus overseas there, and it just feels like, oh, he's setting up the roadmap for places we're going to go and characters we will interact with, and so there will be a plot reason for us to go to New Federation, which will then probably be how the Cyberpunk collab comes in. That was just my guess, because that would feel like it all makes sense, right? So it's not just out of nowhere, like, and now for something completely different, let's go over here and do something that has nothing to do with the main story for a whole patch. It feels like that would be an elegant way to work it in.
And then Luke escorts us there with maybe Lene, maybe Calcaro.
Maybe.
Oh my god!
It could
That
also
does
be
sound
climate.
and
so
she takes us on the
elegant.
bike as well.
Yeah.
That sounds so elegant that now I'll be disappointed if that's not what they
Yeah,
do.
it needs to
I
happen.
mean,
Yeah, Amanda's created these grandiose expectations that we have now.
I know.
So that when it actually releases, everyone's gonna be like, nope.
It's funny because I actually thought that this just proves how I actually don't have insider information. When they announced the Cyberpunk collab, which was ages ago, was that at the Game Awards? It was a while ago, right? I just automatically assumed that that would mean that 3.0 would start a new federation, and I
Yeah.
was obviously completely wrong. But I just thought, oh, obviously that's where we're going next because they're going to do the Cyberpunk collab, and I was completely wrong, obviously. But yeah, it's lingered in my mind since that's how they're going to work it together.
Although if they do manage to transition into the new federation with this, then people are gonna call you out for having insider information.
Yeah, I
So-
know.
You can't win.
Okay, what do you guys think then of the like what would you rate good or bad the 3.0, like the cumulative 3.1 experience thus far, now that Luke's story has finished, or you know, like Luke's respective patch has finished, not his story necessarily. I'm hoping we get to see a lot more of him moving into the future as well, but now that his and Imus contained 3.1 story is finished, what would you guys rate it? Doesn't need to necessarily be numerically, but like on a scale of exceptional to terrible, what do you guys think? We could start with
Must play.
okay, we'll start with Sevy.
Whoops.
Let's go.
Whoops, sorry. I would just rate it as a must play. Like I feel like this is just unskippable as a main quest to enjoy. Both parts even. Like you know, Imus was amazing for the emotional roller coaster that it gave, and Luke's was great for all the info, but it was no less enjoyable. And you know, like numerical value unnecessary. I would just say like, yeah, you gotta play this one.
Rini, what do you think?
Am I including the Segway quest too?
Yeah, both stories for 3.1 cumulatively.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, as a whole, definitely up there for me. Unfortunately, I don't think anything will be able to top 2.2 for a while, because I just love 2.2 a lot. That's why I'm like kind of fangirling about Amanda being here, because I'm very nervous. I literally have been so stressed out about it, because I'm such a huge fan of your portrayal of Cartathea, and I just have such an attachment to her character too. So like you did such an amazing job, and I'm a huge fan. But yeah, I think the story as a whole was really, really good. I think it was really strong in comparison to the other story quests. Even though I do think actually no, it's okay. Yeah, I think I don't know, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. I was fangirling. Yeah, it was good. The quest was great. The quest was great. Move on.
All right, Arrow.
I don't know what number I should put on it, but I definitely also agree that it is a must play. There was so much lore that you need to know from this quest, and I think it's just a much needed healing therapy session for everyone who went through what happened in the 3.1 main story with Ameth. I think it's just like the perfect what do you call, chapter 2 almost to what we experienced beforehand. And even even if you somehow were not as heavily affected by Ameth's story, because, not everyone, cried or had a huge emotional reaction to the 3.1 main story, which is okay, everybody has different opinions. But I missed out on saying this earlier. I only touched on it briefly, but I think some of the things that Luke says to Rova during this quest, it hits on a personal level, for me at least, because I was going through something rough just in my personal life, unrelated to whatever, the Ameth story had impacted me. And some of the things that he said are words that I needed to hear, and it genuinely made me feel better about some of the struggles I was going through at the moment, because I had let grief and anger burn me out, and I was becoming obsessed with the results, and I had forgotten the joy I felt along the way. And it was just so crazy that, obviously Luke was giving these advice to Rova, who was dealing with the loss of Ameth, but somehow it resonated with my personal life, and that made me think, as a player, regardless of how you felt about the story beforehand with Ameth, I think a lot of the words that Luke offers Rova in this story can be very helpful. And to me, the writing really shined through on how much heart there was in the story. And I thought it was really beautiful, and I really, really liked it. I did not expect myself to cry. I went in expecting fan service, maybe going on a date with Dr. Luke, but instead I started crying, so yeah, it was a very good quest. I would give it a 9 out of 10. Again, not 10 out of 10 just because nothing is perfect and everything can always be improved on, but it was very, very good, and I loved this quest.
Okay, how would you improve on Luke's model?
He's perfect just the way he is.
There you go.
Let's close. Sorry.
I'm kidding.
Who said that?
Okay.
Option to remove gloves.
Oh.
Zora, what did you think overall?
I have one word. Cinema. That's it.
Okay.
Absolute cinema.
Absolute
Can we talk
cinema.
about that cutscene?
Which
Can
one?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
have
which
spoke
cutscene?
about it.
What
Can
cutscene?
we talk? Cinema reminded me of that moment with the Nivora reveal.
Oh.
Yeah.
With the 360 headshot and everything? That scene?
That was absolute cinema. The word cinema just reminded me of that cutscene. That cutscene was so good. I was screaming and kicking my feet while watching that.
The voice acting there too was.
Yeah. When Rova showed up at the
Yeah,
end,
I
I got
screamed.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
Oh my
I was
god.
so shocked.
It's crazy.
It was so
I
good.
was more creeped out when Nivora stood up or crept back
She
up.
was
I was
arisen
like,
from
I
the
hate
dead.
that.
The
Yeah.
bones cracking. Ugh.
Yeah. So
The-
good.
there were actually so many epic moments in that. The rover appearing behind Nivora, the Luke jumping or grabbing the gun to do the flip and the 360 hedge. It was the cinematography for the game has just gotten absolutely wild, especially in the 3.x series. They were taking the presentation of a narrative and just going above and beyond at this juncture, I feel. But Amanda, what do you guys think overall?
Amanda, you first.
I thought this was a brilliant patch, and I think it's hard for me to sort of objectively compare to patches that I worked on because 2.2 will always be very special to me on a personal level because that was the first I saw of this story. So that was my entry point, which is obviously a strange place to start. But I think because that was a new area, it made sense. So I don't think I could be objective about that one patch. But I will say, I think as a player with no involvement in the current storyline, I think 3.1 was just incredibly satisfying because I think it was really well paced. I think it was clever to have that longer main story with Imeth and then a bit of a break and then this kind of segue because I feel like, again, they hit us with a double whammy of here's a lot of information, here's some despair, and then here's a breather, and here's some hope. And here's what to do next. And I thought that was nice that they let us sit in that despair for a bit. I also thought it had a lot of everything. There was some very cool fights. I thought everything, around the Sigillum character was really interesting, and like all of the implications of that. Like fighting Rover was pretty cool. Is pretty cool. I think we had emotional stakes, and we have clear motivation for continuing the main story. Aleph 1 was a terrible, scary threat already, but now it's personal, right? Like it's gone from, oh no, a scary black hole Threnodian to not my daughter, right? So I feel like we have great personal stakes, and everyone's kind of invested. And we also have learned so much more about Rover, the universe in general, the Fraxiters. We have learned so much in one patch, and I'm so excited to see where it's going to go next. So for me, this is kind of everything I would want to have in a patch. Some closure, some questions answered, but a lot of new questions opened up. So I think this was, and Luke aura farms, it has to be said, right? Not just
For real.
he aura farms. Like
So true.
when we arrive and he's like, oh, we need to have a conversation somewhere private, like come to my office, and you go to a cave, I'm already like,
Yeah.
we're going to a cave? And then you go in and he's like, yeah, come to
my
room.
lair.
And I'm like, what room? Like, you're Batman, there's 20 rooms. I didn't even speak to him. I just went in and looked at all the rooms, and I was like, how does it keep going? Why is he Batman? But I love it. It was great. Very cool. But I was not expecting him to be.
It was also great to see and hear, though, that they could actually implement so much lore while not seeming overwhelming. Because when you were first introduced to Wuwa, I think, with 1.0, there was an obscene amount of terminology that you were trying to learn. And now they can just like seamlessly drop information, and it just kind of seems normal. It doesn't seem like you're sitting like, what is that? Wait, what? Who was that? Why was that thing? So, and then of course, with people like Rini explaining it for those of us that are a little less attentive to detail.
Stop, I'm getting shy.
Age, what are your thoughts, though? Your final thoughts on it?
Everything that everyone else said. And yeah, I feel like 3.1, story-wise, since I'm a story enjoyer, is the best Wuwa patch that we have gotten since launch. I think that 3.1 is basically the perfect balance of everything that has worked in previous patches, and then they managed to put it together in this one. So if this is the direction that we are going towards for the future, and hopefully, again, they can keep, working on trying to do new things, and then hopefully, keep what works well, don't keep what doesn't work well, then yeah, like 3.1 for me is the singular patch that has actually just absolutely like sunk its claws into me and invested me in Wuthering Waves story and it as a game as a whole. Like before, they were kind of like hooking me, but then this is the one where it's like I'm in. And
I think that that email that went pretty viral in the community, where Solon confirmed that 3.1 was probably the biggest expansion of the game to date, is a testament to, I think, how so many people perceived the 3.x series of patches so far, and I have no doubt that the game is going to continue growing from here. Although before we end the podcast, I'm curious for each of you, and we can go through like Age, Amanda, Erusha, etc. What gacha games do you guys play? Like outside of Wuthering Waves? Age.
Oh, me first. Wait, firstly, what's your opinion on 3.1 as well?
Oh, I thought that it perfectly encapsulated the entirety of the story of Wuthering Waves, pretty much up until that point, because how they gave so much history and backstory on Rover in a patch that was heavily Imeth focused in Luke's story, while also giving Luke so much time to develop as a character as well and feature him to such a, in such a prominent way, was just marvelously done. And I agree. I feel like most of you have said that the humanization of Rover has been a very compelling point. Seeing Rover develop from what seemed like a very monotone, very emotionless husk of a human being at the beginning, and even the voice actors that played both male and female Rovers, how they portrayed them as having such a, lack of emotion and expression to see how they emoted in 3.1. Just merely down to little like micro details like deeper breaths or little mumbles here and there to really like further like narrative points. That was just handled so beautifully in a way that no other patch has done thus far. And I think like all these little micro details have helped enhance Wuwa overall. And seeing all these different threads that have been woven throughout. I don't even, how many patches have there been? Like 15 patches so far, 13 patches over the course of the last year and a half. Like seeing all these threads just kind of come together in this amalgamation of, for lack of a better word, perfection has been enthralling and engaging in a way that I didn't expect to see in a gacha game. Because typically like gacha game stories are considered to be fairly and relatively weak comparatively to AAA budget games. And seeing Wuwa kind of like up that scale to where it could be compared to a AAA budget game has been like nothing short of remarkable. So that's pretty much what I think of the entirety of the history of the game leading up to 3.1 and the culmination in 3.1 being the best patch. Like unarguably. I'm sorry, Rini, I know you said 2.2. And Amanda also with her bias against her patches.
Okay.
But yeah, they're my thoughts. But what? So everyone knows, what games do each of you play, as well? Starting with Age again.
Oh, okay. Still starting with me. I play a lot of gacha games. Is it just gacha games or like?
Yeah,
other
just
games too right
gachas.
now? Actively, currently, I'm playing. I'm gonna go down the list. I'm playing Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail, Reverse 1999, Uma Musume, Endfield. On and off sometimes, Love in Deep Space, but currently off. And then recently, I also started playing a bit of Genshin again, casually, to play some of the Nodkai stories. So yeah.
Okay,
those are my current gacha games.
A connoisseur of great games. Amanda, do you play anything outside of Wuwa?
Not gacha games, no. Sorry to disappoint. People sometimes ask me if I'm not allowed to, like contractually, play other gacha games. That's not the case. The real reason is just that I don't have the time to keep up with more than one live service game. That's just the truth of it, because I'm the imposter here. I'm not a full-time content creator or anything. This is not my full-time job. And so I'm doing this as much as I have time to, but I can't keep up realistically with more than one live service game. So because I'm a narrative gamer, and what I'm doing in my streams is mainly talk about storytelling in games, I tend to play single player games because they're shorter and we can kind of like dive into that and get it done, and then the game is done. I just can't play more than one live service game. But I had my 50th stream yesterday, and I never thought I would stream more than once. So this is wow. I know these are rookie numbers for you guys because this is your actual job, but it was something that was just interesting to me because I never thought I'd do it more than the one time, and here we are.
And now you're streaming Mass Effect too. So
I know, yeah. Great narrative game, guys.
Resident Evil.
And Resident Evil, as everyone else is doing.
Ooh.
wow. Eru, what about you?
Going from me to Amanda makes me look like a degenerate.
A little bit.
Well, for me, I mentioned in the beginning, but I play Wuthering Waves and Punishing Grey Raven the most right now. If you guys know PGR, it's a game also by Kuro Games. It's actually the game they made before Wuthering Waves. I think it is a fantastic game. A lot of my viewers are people that, got into Wuwa because they were PGR players before Wuwa was released, and I'm not caught up in the story, unfortunately, because it took me so long to start playing the game, and I have, years of backlog to catch up on. But it's a really good game, and I really hope more people give PGR a chance. PGR has fantastic writing and combat system. I also used to play Genshin and Star Rail, but like Amanda says, it's kind of difficult to catch up to multiple live service games at once. I am actually also not a full-time content creator. I'm a full-time voice actor and translator. That is my main job. I do stream a lot, but it's not my full-time job. So I don't have the time to be caught up to multiple live service games at once, unfortunately. But I do also play Uma Musume. I do also play Love and Deep Space. Which I would like to mention that Luke actually shares the same voice actor as one of the Love and Deep Space boys.
Wait,
in Japanese,
really?
At least. Yeah, yeah.
Who?
Wow.
Raphael,
Oh.
voiced by
Okay, that checks
Tachibana
out. That checks out.
Shinnosuke-san. Yeah, Raphael is Tachibana Shinnosuke-san, who also voices Luke. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, I really wish I had time to pick up Zenless Zone Zero as well. I've also been playing Arknights Enfield recently. But yeah, it's really hard being up to date with multiple live service games. But yeah, I hope everyone gives PGR a try. I really, really love PGR. Yeah.
Rini.
I mostly play Wuwa. That's like the only real gacha game that I'm like super dedicated to, as in like I play it daily. But I've recently got back into Honkai Star Rail, which has been a wild ride. I'm just at the beginning of the Amphorius arc.
Oh.
So
Oh, wow.
I have about 50
Enjoy.
hours to get through. But I am
Oh, wow.
enjoying it. I am enjoying it a lot. I'm actually an OG Honkai Star Rail player. I played it when it first came out, and then I played up until 2.53 when Firefly was released, and then I went on a break because I couldn't deal with Sunday yapping at me for like an hour straight. So I gave
Oh my
up,
gosh.
and then it literally drove me
2.3,
insane.
baby. Or
And
no,
then,
it was 2.2.
Was it? Wait, which was 2.2?
The Sunday Yap Fest was 2.2, I think.
Yeah. The thing is, I loved Sunday. So like before, when he was announced on like the live stream, I was like, oh my god, Sunday, he's so beautiful. He's gonna be my husband. And then that quest that threw everything out the window. I was like, I'm not
Oh my
dealing with this.
gosh.
Get him away from me.
Oh my
But-
gosh.
But now that
She
I've got
got
back
the
into
ick.
it, I did, and I felt so bad because he's so pretty. But getting back into it, like I still have like a little bit of a soft spot for him, especially because at the point I'm at right now, he's with the Astral Express. He's with them. But yeah, I'm enjoying HSR. And outside of Wu and HSR, I play ZZZ as well. I'm on a little bit of a break on it right now because I haven't really been enjoying the story recently. But I did pull for Arya. I got Arya yesterday. I'm really happy about it. And I want to get Nangong as well. And then I do play Reverse 1999 every now and then. Like, I go on breaks frequently with that game because I feel like it's a very good game for like casual players. Like, you can just take your time with it. The storytelling is really beautiful, and the art is also really beautiful in that game. So I do go back to that every now and then. I play on my phone, so usually I'll, like, if I'm chilling in like the living room or something, I'll just get it up on my phone and play through the story. But yeah, that's all the gacha games I play.
Nice. What about you, Sevy?
Oh, it's just Wuwa and Genshin. Like,
Oh.
I tried. I mean, I played HSR before Amphorius came out. But see, my relationship with gacha games is a little weird because it's only recently that I've been able to like just fully immerse myself in the story and just enjoy it for that. Because like for the first few years of my channel, like my content revolved around like guide making and builds and stuff, which is fun and all, and I still do that to some extent. But now that I'm able to just enjoy the games and stories for what they are, I've been finding it really fascinating and fulfilling. And honestly, at this point, like even with just Genshin and Wuwa, because their stories are so rich, like my cup is full. I'm good. I also don't think I can like keep up that many live service games personally. So yeah, I'm happy with those two.
All right. Zora, what about you?
I only play Wuwa and Honkai Star Rail. That's it. I really don't have time for more. I'm a full-time student. I do this on the side and whenever I have time. So it's just not realistic for me to play more than 2 right now. But it's my last year, so maybe afterwards I can pick up some new new gacha games. But for now, I'm just gonna focus on 2 because I really can't like really enjoy the story of a game if I have so many other things to do and other things to play. I feel like I don't think that's fair for the game. So when I want to play the game, or I want to play Zenless Zone Zero as an example, but I just can't fully invest in the story, and I think that's unfair then. I don't want to play it now. But those are the 2 games I play. That's it.
So Age, it's just you and me that play handfuls of gacha games. Because for me,
Stix, I need you to say your list right now.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Nikke, Arc Knights, OG Arc Knights, Arc Knights Enfield, Wuthering Waves, Punishing Gray Raven, Path to Nowhere, Chaos Zero Nightmare, Guardian Tales, Reverse 1999.
It's still going.
Wow.
And oh god, I'm missing like at least 2. I used to do Girls Frontline 2, but then they kind of ruined that for me. I did Genshin from first beta CBT 1 up until 3.0.
Oh.
Yeah, I was one of the first content creators reached out to cover Genshin. A friend of mine, Cry, and I we were covering it when people were still labeling it an MMO. So
Oh.
That's
Damn.
wild.
What?
yep.
What an era.
OG.
Yeah, I think I play like concurrently about 10. Maybe 12. I'm just forgetting like 2. But
I think max I've ever gotten to was
Wow.
12. So
Are
But
your
I was, like,
days
barely playing
like
some of those.
30 hours long? Like how?
I have like LD player up, and then I'll have Mumu player up, and then I'll have, the PC clients of games up, and I'll just like be going through
phone,
each
your
game.
tablet, your
Yeah, exactly.
laptop.
Exactly. I have
Oh my god.
two
you
gaming phones, and
multitask.
it's difficult, but I do. My wife actually got me like a gaming phone last year just to kind of help with that. So there's one less program running on my computer. So
And then on your phone you have to do the split screen. One on top, one on the bottom.
dude, it is a challenge, but at the same time, like for me, like covering gacha games and because I have 2 channels, right? My MMO channel, which is like 360k subs, and then my gacha channel, which has almost 100. But for me, like doing the dedicated YouTube videos is my main job, whereas streaming's just there as a hobby to do for funsies on the side and to connect with community and to like accumulate footage. So as much as like for better or worse, the channel lives or dies by the games I'm covering, and I don't want to like put all the eggs into one basket and just cover a singular game because you might have a bad take and then the community hates you, or a game might decline and then you have nothing to cover. So for me, it's the more games I cover and the more games I can integrate into that cycle of games, the more things I have to cover. And then you're never like presented with this opportunity or presented with this reality where something might like your career might just disappear overnight. So that's why I cover so many games.
Understandable.
And
Cool.
and for the most part, they're all for the narrative too, because I'm also a big JRPG guy. Like I grew up playing JRPGs throughout my entire childhood. So, and JRPGs are like 100 hours of talking and like 3 hours of gameplay. So. But
Important.
yeah, exactly. I've heard.
I love him. Yes.
Well, Rini has something to look forward to.
There will definitely be some crash outs for Riddy though, I think, in Emphorius, based off of
Do you
what I've heard just now. I think there
Why?
will be a crash out or 2. But it'll still
sad.
be overall really fun. I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay.
Pending those crash outs.
Actually, I haven't played Amphorius yet. Like, I play HSR, but I haven't. Like, I just came back from a long break, like 8 months, where I didn't play any gacha games at all. So, I'm trying to catch up, and I'm at 3.4, and I heard that's gonna be traumatic. That's what I heard.
Oh, 3.4.
I don't know.
is good.
So I'm excited.
Okay, well, we can call that there because it's been a solid 2 hours or just slightly over. So I appreciate everyone for being here, part of the podcast. Like last time, it's the genre for a lot of people is very tribalistic, very hate-filled, lots of malintent and malicious agendas going around. So it's awesome to just get, you know, like handfuls, collectives of different content creators, and in some instances, like with Eru and Amanda, voice actors as well, that play characters that we love and that do content creation either as a career or as a hobby on the side as well, together for podcasts or content like this to make things a little brighter or a little more positive and just kind of have fun and show that Western content creators and Western content in general is also very positive, and there are lots of talented creators out there that aren't just you know, manifesting hate and trying to bring, you know, just lots of anger, upset, and negativity into the genre. So it has been an absolute pleasure having you all here discussing all of 3.1. And for everyone watching both on YouTube and on Twitch, if you don't follow everyone here, they're all also incredible people and content creators. And wow. And I would love to have each of you back on again for future podcasts if you're all interested.
Yeah,
I'd love to come back.
Of course.
Thanks so much for having
Yeah,
us
thank you
for
so
this
much.
one. It was so
Yeah,
much fun.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you all for being here.
Lovers plus Rini.
Luke Lovers plus Rini.
Can I say one thing? I actually
Yeah.
expected a lot more gooning than there was.
I was gonna say, not enough simping over Luke. I thought there was gonna be more.
Okay, guys, I got you.
Okay, let me just go ahead here and
Double fist.
let me full screen Sevy real quick then.
Okay, guys, have you seen his forearms? Like, oh my god. And then like the way he holds this. Okay, wait, there was this one frame in his teaser where he was like pulling the surgical string, and then
Yeah.
they did the thing like that. I was like, what? That is wild. Like, holy crap. They did his fingers. They closed up on that. I don't. If you got that. Anyway, okay.
I lost my mind at the 5 full seconds of 2D animated hand washing. I was like,
Oh
wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
I was
5
like, dude, the
seconds. I
amount of
counted.
effort.
Very
I
necessary.
I was
Necessary.
gobsmacked by how, because that's difficult. Like hand animation to begin with is
Yeah.
crazy hard. Let alone a full
And then the
5
water.
seconds of this like super high FPS water hand
Yeah.
washing animation. I was like,
And the veins in his arm, his hands,
Yeah.
were just saying, God.
Oh my god.
There you go. I guess
Yeah.
that'll be the intro to the podcast.
Perfect.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Stix, for having us.
Thank
Ab-
you for having us.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. Hopefully you guys have a good evening and a good day.
Ew.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Bye.
See you guys later.
Thanks.
I know you think that you just hit the end of the video, and technically, yeah, you have. And I know your first reaction is to close out of it at this juncture, but don't. No, instead, I urge you to take a moment here and click one of the videos on screen that are coming up in just a moment so you remain up to date with everything going on in the gacha genre. Trust me, you're not going to regret doing so. Stay flaccid.